Dark opens with the protagonist waking up with no memory except that his name is Eric Bain. Oh god, that's a demoralising start, isn't it? Realising you sound like the pseudonym under which a struggling author writes erotic Twilight knockoffs. You know, as a child I used to have a phobia of theme park mascots. Emotionally repressed even then, I was suspicious of their instant friendliness, fixed grins, and eagerness to take me into the gents to show me Herman the Hairy Snake, the secret mascot who only comes out for good little boys and girls with weak gag reflexes. The point is, I hadn't gotten over this problem by the time I got taken to Disneyland, and the day became a tense and fearful avoidance game at the first sign of oversized cranium, culminating in paroxysms of torment when the parade rolled around. The grins. A sea of grins. Staring. Judging. Winnie the Pooh doing some foul perverted windmill dance with his exposed forearms. No, Goofy, I don't want to taste Herman's special milk. This game's shit. Oh, sorry, I usually do more of a setup than that, don't I? I'll start again. Goodness me, this game's shit. I think it's fair to say that all bets were right the fuck off when it came to the Phantom Pain, even more than they usually are with Hideo Kojima, aka Hideo, sure I know what tone is, it's the sound made by the little bell that the nice men in white coats say I have to wear, Kojima. Because of course Konami have recently decided they're going to take everything they've built over the years as a game developer, arrange it nicely in front of them, and then pick up a big hammer and smash and smash and smash and smash and smash. Sorry we had to cancel Silent Hills, but we kind of lost our interest in it around the same time we lost our fucking minds! Here, have a pachinko machine instead. We like pachinko machines because it's nice to have something around that has some fucking balls. Also, fuck off, Hideo Kojima, you're too reliably bankable for our liking. We'd much rather stick our feet up our arse and bounce down the stairs making burbling noises with our lips. Brrr. Could somebody please invade America? I know it's not exactly prime real estate and can just about produce corn and shitty TV, but someone really needs to help them blow off some steam. It's hard not to look at all these war games about Russia invading America and not be reminded of fan fiction. America is a fat teenage virgin lying on her front on her bed, staring up at her Edward and Bella poster while crossing and uncrossing her ankles and dreamily writing creepy stories about having filthy monkey sex with the quiet Eastern European boy down the road, and the child psychologist hired by her concerned parents gives the following advice: what this girl needs is a good hard dicking. So come on Russia, take the hint. World War III, let's do it. Yeah, lots of people will die, but it's not like the human race couldn't use a bit of a pruning now and then. What about you, China? You got loads of people to spare, you selfish bastards. I say ram a few of them up America's rancid hairy fun hole, and maybe she can remember how to act like a grown-up and come like a howler monkey. Hatred went straight to the top of the sales chart the day it came out, and you know damn well it wasn't for its innovative gameplay or its heartwarming love story about a combat boot trying in vain to reunite with a concrete pavement. Hatred's protagonist is quick to claim that his name is not important, although I feel the teen gossip magazines would disagree, so let's just call him Jeffrey Cuddletrousers. Jeffrey has finally grown tired of people taking the piss out of his hairdo by calling him Madam at the checkout of the trenchcoat and death metal shop, and decides that weighing up all the pros and cons, the logical way forward would be to murder the entire world. So he emerges from his shack dressed for a Texan wedding and starts racking up the body count. You might call it a sick power fantasy, and I would reply, well yeah, that's why it's funny. I picture some spindly angst-ridden teenager seeing something like this in their head moments before they burst into a McDonald's, drop their dad's revolver, and shoot themselves in the kneecap, and that makes me laugh. Am I a bad person? Yes, but not because of that. I wish I could get through one day of my life without asking this question, but what the fuck am I doing here? Am I supposed to be rooting for Godzilla? I guess so, because at the end, after we've totally wrecked up the place, the Prime Minister's all like, this was a lesson from nature, and Godzilla will return if humanity ever goes too far again. Oh, heaven forfend that humanity go too far, and start doing something irresponsible like stomp all over someone else's shit. Godzilla's not our abusive spouse, Prime Minister lady. Stop rationalizing. Maybe he's just being a dick. I'm so fucking thrilled that my cheek muscles are about to wrap around the top of my head like a Miss Pac-Man bow, because Shooter Season 2011 has finished catering to people who will only ever touch a vagina if they found a job at the funeral home, and has now moved on to the realistic shooter stage for the benefit of your racist dad. And the reason I'm so thrilled is because I consider myself a connoisseur of box art depicting soldiers slowly walking towards the camera. Call of Duty's a strong contender, especially the Modern Warfare 2 box showing the man looking off to the right as if someone off-panel is trying to point out that his trousers are about to catch fire, but the Battlefield series has to be the master of the art. The cover of Battlefield Bad Company 2 experimented with a groundbreaking depiction of a slowly walking soldier with a big orange smear all down his front like he had an accident with his lasagna. Imagery so striking they've used exactly the same thing for Battlefield 3, only now he's walking away from a city as if to say, I am never going to that restaurant again. Every vampire story has different rules, of course. In the Dark Universe, for example, the super secret weakness of vampires is bullets. And cunningly, the security guards of the world all carry guns, having figured out that your Achilles heel is any kind of physical damage whatsoever. So Dark is strictly a stealth game. Such is the aversion to bullets that Eric cannot carry a gun himself. So do the maths here, Sonny. Melee-only attacks, plus large numbers of enemies with guns, plus large open environments with limited cover, equals it's a shame you have such an aversion to bullets, Eric, mate, because a lot of them are going to be trying to make friends with you, and your one attack can be blocked by aware enemies. So if you get spotted sneaking up up on a dude, the action becomes a rather humiliating game of patty cake. I wanted Eric to go back to the club after the first mission and say, "Are you sure I'm a vampire, and not just a goth with a personal trainer?" At this point, the game designer's boss says, "Okay, that's the combat, what other gameplay mechanics will there be?" "Well," replies the game designer, whom I will name Pillock, "how about on some of the levels, everything goes all red and black and cel-shaded?" No, says Pillock's boss, nobody's fool but his own. "That's just the same gameplay mechanic in pretentious arty bullshit-o vision." "Oh right, I misunderstood you at first," replies Pillock. "There's also some Prince of Persia-style platforming sections, but you know how in Prince of Persia it was always clear where you were supposed to go and what was alleged and what wasn't? Well, I think we should do the exact opposite of that and occasionally plunge important platforms in total darkness so you have to make leaps of faith like it's the Last Crusade." "That sounds good," says Pillock's boss. "Actually no, that sounds awful, and why is your head bandaged?" "Also," continues Pillock, "every now and again during a cutscene a button will flash up and if you don't press it fast enough you have to start the cutscene all over again because of global flobal wobbly bits." "Those are called QuickTime events," says Pillock's boss with increasing concern, "and they're the worst idea in the world." "I know it's the best idea in the world," says Pillock, "so I'm just going to make a load of those instead of boss fights, and the final climactic level will just be an extra long sequence of them because trying to be creative makes blood come out of my nose." "I'd better go now," says Pillock's boss, making motions towards the exit and eventually a phone to call the police. "Wait," yells Pillock, banging his head against the desk for attention. "What about special challenge modes where you have to get around a training course in a certain time?" "That's actually not a bad idea," says his boss, stopping at the door. "I know," says Pillock. "That's why I'm going to occasionally force the player to complete one during story mode for no apparent reason except to appease the octopus that lives in my head." Then Pillock's boss goes away and throws himself in front of a train, although it was stopping at the station so he pretty much just makes a fool of himself. So here, presumably, is how the conversation went down. "Hi, kids. Hi, Uncle who works at Nintendo. Do you like Mario? Sure do. Have you ever wanted to make your own Mario levels and play a theoretically infinite number of community-created ones? More than wanted to, Uncle Nintendo. Fan-created ROM hacks and tribute games have existed almost as long as the games themselves. We know. And now you can take them all away and smash them to pieces with a cease and desist letter on the end of a 2x4. Because now you can do pretty much the same thing with Super Mario Maker. It's considerably less versatile and creatively fulfilling, but here's the good part. It makes us a hell of a lot more money. Say thank you." "Thank you, Uncle Nintendo. Now I think we both know you have better ways of showing gratitude than that, kids." It's also disappointing, having made up all these original characters, that the plot has to focus so much on all the shit ones. You don't even get to play as the sexy cowboy or Master Blaster in the campaign, and they were the interesting lads I wanted to know more about. I was pretty sure I could guess where Cassie Cage came from. Johnny Cage's sperms getting up Sonya Blade's cooch, although knowing this series, she probably had to tear them out of his living balls, and then they tunneled into her pelvis with miniature hooks. This is normally the point where I recap the plot, but this time, why don't you all sing along? There are three entities: Mario, Princess Peach, and Bowser, the ego, the superego, and the id. One of these entities kidnaps another, and the third has to go in pursuit of them. See if you can figure out which is which. This game made me realise that the plots of many Mario games can be enlivened somewhat by assuming that cake is the Mushroom Kingdom word for sex. The princess invites Mario over for some cake, but Bowser kidnaps her so that she can make some cake for him instead. Only now he's 500 feet tall and Emperor of the Universe, so she'd better make sure her cake is spread quite wide. Watch Dogs had all the grace and subtlety of a 19th century steam locomotive dangerously overloaded with jizz cannons and jizz cannon maintenance equipment, which, as we've often learned, can be the warning sign that the publishers don't have a lot of faith in the game being able to stand upon its own merits. Well, it certainly can't stand upon its understanding of how hacking works, I can tell you that straight away. Basically, if your hackers are mostly hip young DJs and tattoo artists who all crib their sense of style from the halfway point between My Little Pony and Pinhead from Hellraiser, and have been so obviously workshopped to oblivion that they might as well be snapping their fingers and referring to authority figures as Daddy-O, then you're already showing your ignorance, because most hackers are fat, greasy shit minglers with terrible beards posting Google Street View images of the houses of people who think we should have to pay money to watch TV shows. What will certainly not help is having your hackers put on very serious faces and wave their handheld devices about the way Marvo the Master Wizard works his magic wand. Fortunately, the protagonist of Watch_Dogs is not one of the heavily workshopped Johnny Lee Miller rejects, but Aidan Pierce, a character who appears to have had all personality sandblasted off, till he's a blank cipher who doesn't even know how to button a trench coat properly. He was a hacker who did any work for hire and stole money from bank accounts, but then accidentally targeted someone powerful who killed his 6-year-old niece, which gave him a little Spider-Man moment, and he declared that from this day forth he would use his powers to continue working for hire and stealing money from bank accounts, but also fight crime in between, if he can be asked. But the debate over whether she represents female empowerment or sexual objectification is, for me, a fairly swiftly resolved one. Process of elimination, really. She can't be a sex object because she has the proportions of an internet meme horror character. I'm trying to imagine having sex with her, and it feels like rubbing my dick on the robot from the day the Earth stood still. My mind can't quite get to the point of having lustful thoughts because I'm too worried about where I'm going to find a stepladder at this time of night. Still, Bayonetta does give much-needed representation to one severely neglected demographic, and that's people who are capable of enjoying themselves. Every aspect of the game has this sense of sheer joyful energy running through it, from the music to the walk animations, and given a choice between Bayonetta and the reboot Lara Croft, say, I'd rather have sex with the latter, if only because it would actually be possible without erecting scaffolding, but Bayonetta is the one I'd rather be stuck opposite on a long train journey, because she doesn't stink of grim determination and caked-on goat shit. Shovel Knight, meanwhile, tells a story of the titular adventurer. You know, I've realised I can't say the word titular without picturing some kind of breast-themed enemy of Godzilla. And when the dialogue isn't awful quips or self-aggrandizement, it's just treating the player like an absolute cretin. That wall looks breakable. I notice you haven't broken it in the 2.7 seconds since I last mentioned that. That's cool, I'll check again in 2.8 seconds. What makes you think I'm this stupid, Sonic Boom? You bought me. Touché.